Let's get down to brass tacks. What's going on, guys? Today is the day. I'm going to be doing a Friday the 13th franchise tier list. This will be the first time I've ever done this. I've talked about this franchise so many times on this channel because it's such a favorite of mine. Been watching these films since I was a kid, and the original Friday 13th is the film that got me started on my horror journey. And so I always owe a lot to the franchise, and there's been a lot of great memories. But this will be the first time I'm going to actually go through doing a tier list of all 12 Friday the 13th films. So this should be a lot of fun. You guys definitely make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe so you can join us. And special thanks out to our channel members and Patreon members who actually, this is where this idea came from. I had a couple people that were saying, do a Friday 13th tier list. And so, yeah, sounded like a great opportunity to talk some more Friday 13th. I couldn't pass it up. We have all 12 movies and we have our categories, and they are listed as, in the top level, we have Legend Round Here. And obviously that's for the movies that we think are the best of the best. In our second level, we have Ooh Baby.
Ooh baby, ooh baby, ooh baby, ooh baby.
I think you guys get the reference for that one, right? Next up, right in the middle, in our third level, we have Needs a Touch Up. And then in our fourth level, we have Death Curse. And then finally, at the very bottom, the worst of the worst, we have Sucks on So Many Levels. Okay, starting at number 1, we have Jason X. Jason X is a very interesting film, and I'm going to tell you why. It's so campy and so cheesy, and it's so far removed from what you expect from a Friday the 13th film. When this film first came out, I was thinking, what the hell are they doing? We're going to space. You never go to space. Ask Hellraiser, ask Leprechaun. You never go to space. But interestingly enough, this kind of works. It's so weird. This is an example of a film that goes so far to the left that somehow you start to have enjoyment of it. It's fun, it's cheesy. I think the tone of the film is kind of like it understands that this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be campy. You know, it's almost like it's able to make fun of itself a little bit. Jason himself in the film, obviously played by Kane, once again, was great in it. Like the opening scene where he's at the facility, the Crystal Lake Research Facility, it was fantastic. And his look is really good. I love that look of Jason in that section of the film. He looks so good. I mean, he looks great as Uber Jason as well, but just talking about the beginning of the film, I think he looks fantastic. He looks as good there as he had, well, I don't know, I'd say probably he hadn't looked as good since New Blood, Part 7. So I really like that look. It was cool seeing David Cronenberg in there. And of course, we get introduced to Rowan, our final girl, who is fantastic. And then, of course, all the stuff happens in space on the ship. That was a lot of fun. There's some great kills. Obviously, one of the greatest kills in the franchise. One of the greatest kills in horror, you know, with the liquid nitrogen. So for me, I have a lot of fun with this movie, which is almost crazy to think. I'm going to put Jason X in Ooh Baby. We're going there. Ooh Baby. Starting off second level. Not a bad situation whatsoever for Jason X. Next up, we've got the original. Now, let me just say this. I know that this tier list is going to be somewhat controversial. Some of it will not be surprising. Some of it, I think it could be. And we're going to start off right here. The original film is the film that got me into not only the franchise, but into horror. In other words, once I saw it, I was just like, boom. I just started to just eat as much horror as I could. Going to the video stores, renting horror movies, watching them on TV. It was just, boom, the door was open because of this movie. That being said, specifically thinking about a tier list of these films and how I would rank them, I think that the original has some moments that it just lacks. It does. We're just going to call it like it is. The whole reveal of Pamela, that final 20-25 minutes of the film is great. And Betsy Palmer was great as Pamela Voorhees. The only thing about that, though, and I've said this before, is that I wish that we could have had a little bit more of the mystery of who it is and kind of being able to guess who she is if she was in the film, right? We had no idea who she was at the end of the film. We're like, who's this chick? And I think that was one thing about the way that the story was crafted that it lacked a little bit. Obviously, the kills from Tom Savini, there's still some great stuff in there. You have characters that are likable, and of course, Alice, the original final girl, Adrienne King, is amazing. There's nothing more I can really say about her in that final, standoff with Pamela. But all that being said, I do think that watching it now, it does have some aspects that kind of drag. It lags a little bit. And I think that the way that the story is put together is just not as strong as it could have been, or as we saw some of the later entries. So for the original Friday the 13th, I'm actually going to go with needs a touch-up. We're going into the third level here. Third level. And I think that's, at least for me, that's fair. And over the years, this is one of the few entries that has actually dipped in my personal rankings. So interestingly enough, but it's at the third level. We'll go with needs touch up. Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5. One of the most divisive in the franchise. And for me, it was early on. I wasn't as big of a fan of it. But you know what, guys? I'm going to be honest. There's no lying here. Friday 5 goes into Ooh Baby.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
It goes into Ooh Baby. I'm going to tell you guys why. Roy being Jason aside, it has some amazing stuff in it. It has some good kills. It has the characters that you remember, funny moments. It also is a movie that is playing that whole mystery of who's the killer, because we're assuming that Jason is dead. We're wondering if it's really him. And John Shepard, obviously, as Tommy, is seeing visions, so we don't know what's real. Is it Tommy? At the end of 4, it was a cliffhanger. Will Tommy pick up the machete, so to speak? So I think that Friday 5, for all of the controversy that it has and the divisiveness over the years, I think it has some fantastic aspects to it. It actually, to me, does the whole mystery of who the killer is better than the original. Because in this movie, I'm actually wondering about Tommy. Is this all in his head? I'm wondering, is there someone else that's the killer, or is it Tommy himself? And I think that just works a bit better than the original. No shade to the original, but I think that this one is severely underrated. I have a lot of fun with it. It has a lot of great moments, some great characters. So yeah, I think it deserves its spot in the second level at Ooh Baby. Okay, next up, you knew we were going to get there sooner or later. You knew we would get there sooner or later. So next up, we have Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday.
Bullshit!
Now, for anyone that has watched me talk about these films, and if you haven't, definitely check out our Friday 13th playlist. We've got tons of videos, deep dives on each single movie, battles, all those different types of things. Jason Goes to Hell is a movie that is so complicated for me in a lot of ways. I saw it in the theater, and it was it was an experience, so to speak. The theater was dead. I think there were 2 people in the theater with me. Not to say that decides if a movie is great or not, but it was one of those disappointing feelings because I was so hyped to see it. It's a Friday 13th movie and seeing it in the theater. It's got some great kills in it. It's got some nice practical effects in it. It's got a couple great characters, or I should say good characters. I think John DeLaMay is good in it. And I think, obviously, the Duke is amazing. But the Duke's not in the whole movie. Like, the Duke is sprinkled in here and there. So it's Kane's performance, but guess what? Jason is only in the movie for about 7 minutes. And not only that, but the finale, when he is resurrected into his Jason body, which of course all of that is some whack ass shit. Let's just put it out there. I am not a fan of the body hopping thing. This is not the hidden, but even at the end when he's back, right? You get so excited. I think the fight with with John is lackluster. I mean, he's getting his ass beat a little bit by John. I was like, what is going on here? And then next thing you know, they use the mystical dagger, Excalibur and all that, and he's gone. And we get the stinger with Freddy. That was a good part, seeing the stinger with Freddy, because then we were thinking, okay, we're finally going to get Freddy versus Jason. So look, guys, there is no doubt in my mind. I didn't even have to think about this. Jason Goes to Hell is going on, sucks on so many levels. It is at the bottom of the heap. There is no doubt about it. It just, and let me just say this too. As a slasher film, it's got some good aspects. As a Friday the 13th film, I think it is so far left of what's been established in the franchise. We've got relatives that we never knew existed. We've got magical daggers, which kind of make no sense. We've got the Necronomicon in there. Is Jason a Deadite? According to Adam Marcus, like, no, guys, no. Jason Goes to Hell is at the bottom of the list, and that's just all I gotta say about that. Next up, we've got Friday 13th 7, The New Blood. Now, this is actually an entry that has risen in my rankings over the years, because when I first saw it, it was a weird time in the franchise, kind of, because we were kind of heading to the tail end of not only Friday the 13th, but just the slasher subgenre itself, as far as the popularity. And this whole idea of having Jason versus Carrie, when at the time everybody was really just hoping for a Freddy versus Jason movie, especially hoping to get it before their popularity really dipped. But we got this movie with Tina, and Lara is great in the role. I have a lot of fun with this film. The kills were obviously muted by the MPAA. We all know that. So like the kills weren't the greatest. Like it's great setup, but you don't get the punchline, because they talk about how kills are like a joke. So it's kind of like you only got a certain percentage of what could have been with the kills, right? But here's what makes this a really fun entry for me. Kane, his first movie, and there was so much stunt work in The New Blood. He's getting beat up, he's falling through stairs into a basement, he's got a porch, a roof falling on him, you got the explosion at the end, the effects, and the practical work, his prosthetics, the way Jason looked was fantastic. You could see the spine and the ribs and all of that. He looked amazing. This is one of the best looks of Jason. One of these days I'm gonna have to do like a tier list of the Jason looks. I'm telling you guys right now, this is one of my favorites. It just looks so amazing. And so easily with me, Friday 13th Part 7, it has to be pretty high. I'm gonna actually put Friday 7, The New Blood in Ooh Baby. And there was a time when I would not have thought to do that, but it's going in Ooh Baby. It's so much fun, and I enjoy the characters and just the look. Everything about it looks great. Great stunt work too. We have the remake, Friday the 13th from 2009, and I know there are a lot of people. It's funny because I did a Why You Hate Friday the 13th 2009. There are a lot of people in the comments that are really against this film. I've heard that from so many people. And then, you have some folks that love it too. That's the beauty about Friday the 13th. You have folks on both sides. But in general, it's a well-loved franchise. But, some people say, well, there's no characters that they can invest themselves in, or there's not as many likable characters as you usually would see in a Friday the 13th film. And all of that is, there's validity to it. But I enjoyed the characters enough. I've said this before, but I think at least a couple of the characters in the first group that is killed off before the title sequence even happens, I think some of those characters should have been in the main group. They should have flip-flopped. a couple of those characters, in my opinion. Trent, obviously, being the biggest douche in the universe, but that means that he's doing his job. He's so annoying, and I don't know. I don't know if there's any redeeming qualities per se as far as enjoying him as a character that you love to hate. But it is what it is. Hey, it's stupendous, right? Right. So for me, I enjoy the remake quite a bit. I think that showing Jason with this underground layer and kind of grounding him a lot more, taking away the whole supernatural aspect of it, and he's a hunter, he's a woodsman. I thought that was actually good. Yeah, I thought it was a really clever idea to kind of ground him and allow him to do some other stuff. Derek Mears was fantastic as Jason. I'm just going to put that out there. He's fantastic at Jason as Jason. I hope that they can get the rights and all that stuff figured out so that Derek can play him one more time at least. He wants to, because he's just great. His physicality, the way he moved, the way he killed, his confidence, it was just all there. His athletic ability. He's like he's one of the best actors to play Jason. I've got to put Friday 13th, 2009 into Ooh Baby. It's going to Ooh Baby. Next up, we've got Friday 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Listen, this movie rocks. I'm just going to say it right now. This is going all the way up to legend round here. Jason Lives is phenomenal. It is literally phenomenal. CJ Graham was great as Jason, had a different feel, as far as the way he moved versus what we had seen beforehand. The meta aspect was great. The dark humor had, is sprinkled throughout. That was a lot of fun. It was cool having Tommy coming back, and now he's portrayed in a more, I don't want to say likable way, but yeah, he was more likable. Tom Matthews has a certain charisma and charm that he just he embedded into the character of Tommy Jarvis, and I really enjoyed him. I thought Megan is a great final girl. It was kind of like they teamed up, which was really cool. Some great kills, great characters, funny moments. I love the gothic vibe that Tom McLaughlin went for with Jason Lives. That opening alone is great. Right from the beginning of the film, when they're driving to the cemetery and the lightning and the rain and just the gothic vibe, felt like one of those old school movies set in the modern day. And I think it has, out of all the films, I think it has one of the most distinctive vibes. It's just very distinct. And even the music, even the score, which was, changed up and made to be a little bit more like that gothic feel. I thought it was fantastic. So it has to go to legend. There's no doubt at all. Friday 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, or as I like to say, Jason Takes Vancouver. And although I think Kane did a really good job with this, there were some good moments. The kills weren't that great. Again, the MPAA was the mortal enemy of the Friday the 13th films for a long time. But the New York scenes, or at least the Times Square, that was really fun. It was kind of iconic. I wish they could have done more. Subway stuff would have been cool. Alleyways would have been cool. I mean, I know they did that, but it just didn't feel authentic enough, and they didn't utilize the city the way I think that they could have. So for me, I'm gonna have to put Jason Takes Vancouver to Death Curse. I can watch it and I can have fun with it, but it's not one of the films that I watch on a regular basis as far as a rotation. So it's got moments, but no. I mean, ask Julius. I mean, when you get your head punched clean off, it's just all right. Next up, this is going to be so interesting. We've got Freddy versus Jason. I'm going to get killed in the comments here. I can feel it. Let me just talk about this for a second. Freddy versus Jason. There are aspects of this film that is a lot of fun. There are some good moments. There are a couple of good kills. I'm just trying to think of some of the ones that stand out. Monica Keena, I know a lot of people are not big on her and her role as Lori. I didn't mind her. I mean, I wouldn't say that she's in the top half of the Friday 13th final girls. Definitely not, but I don't think she's the worst. That being said, you also have the aspect of Freddy in this film, and I thought Robert was great. I mean, it was great seeing Robert as Freddy in this film. He's kind of back to form, right? Now, I'm not counting Wes Craven's New Nightmare because his take on Freddy was different because it isn't really Freddy. It's a demonic entity or whatever in the form of Freddy. But the last time we saw Freddy Krueger was Freddy's Dead. And that's just not cool. So it was I guess what I'm saying is it was awesome to see Robert come back into this iconic role and play Freddy in a way that was menacing, and he still had his jokes, but he wasn't Looney Tunes, right? This was a really good balance. Not the best balance, because I think the best balance is Dream Warriors, but this was pretty good. He was menacing, he was evil. But here's the thing about Freddy versus Jason. All of that praise I'm giving to Freddy, I'm not giving much to Jason in this film. And it's no shade to Ken Kirzinger. He did what he was told to do. They wanted a Jason that was much more Frankenstein-like and not as agile. We've heard a lot of different stories, and I've talked about it in my Why You Hate Freddy vs. Jason, so check that out if you haven't already, or check it out again. But whether it was Ronnie Yu, the director, or whether it was the studio that didn't want Kane, screw you guys.
Motherfucker.
Seriously, you messed up a huge opportunity, because I think if Kane was portraying Jason, it would have counterbalanced Freddy more, because Robert's able to use his charisma. Robert is able to use his charm. Freddy is a talker, right? So he has that advantage in a way. And with Jason, you have to rely on his physicality. You have to rely on how he moves, his intimidation physically and so forth. And Kane is one of the best to have ever done it. And he doesn't move robotic. He moves very fluid like, and he has that intensity in his motions. You got the breathing and all that type of stuff. Someone like Kane or Richard Brooker or even the great Ted White, rest in peace. So those guys were able to portray Jason in a way where even though he couldn't talk, he was engaging. You get invested in him. The way they directed Ken to portray Jason, I think, sucked. So as a Friday the 13th film, I'm not big on Freddy versus Jason, because I think this was more like a Nightmare on Elm Street film featuring Jason, featuring a cameo by Jason. And yeah, it just wasn't that good from that perspective. So Freddy versus Jason is also going to go into Death Curse. Yes, I said it. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm telling you why I feel that way. Like I said, the Freddy stuff was good. There were a couple of good kills. I think some of the characters were pretty good. It was great seeing. I think Jason Ritter was really good in it. John Ritter's son, who a huge fan of. Rest in peace to John Ritter. But other than that, and Monica Keena, I didn't think Monica Keena was bad. I thought she was fine. But this is a story this is her dealing with a Freddy situation, and Jason just happens to be Freddy's pawn, right? So I just don't think it was balanced enough between the mythologies of Nightmare and Friday. I just don't. So that's where it's going, right there with Vancouver. So, all right. Next up, we've got Friday the 13th, the final chapter. The final chapter has so many great elements. You have characters that you really dig. Okay, Trish is a great final girl, underrated. You've got her little brother Tommy, when Corey Feldman was awesome, during the 80s, when he was just in everything and he was awesome. And then you've got all these kids that are, coming to party for the weekend or whatever. And there's some great characters in there. There's some great characters in there that you can enjoy and have fun with. Crispin Glover dancing will never get old. There's great kills. Suspense. It's shot really well. The opening of this film alone told you how committed they were to trying to make a good movie. It's a B movie for sure, but it's handled in a way that's just a cut above what you would normally see with this type of slasher film. Ted White as Jason, unbelievable, unbelievable, so intimidating. His physicality, one of the best to ever do it for sure. I just loved him as Jason. That finale where he's going after Trish, and when they stand off in the hallway, and Trish is just thinking, "Where can I go?" And she makes that choice, and I just love it. It was just so intense, and the fact that she's doing whatever she can do to protect her brother, to save her brother, and of course at the end, Tommy pulling the okey doke. Sure, it's a callback to what Jenny did in part two, but it's okay. We're working with the psychology. I'm okay with that. So there's no doubt in my mind that the final chapter is not only a great Friday 13th film, but I think it's one of the best slasher films ever. It's got to go into legend round here. There's no doubt about that at all. No doubt. Now that I'm sure wasn't too surprising. Okay, so next up we have Friday 13th Part 2. Again, controversy might ensue. Now, I know some folks are big about Sackhead Jason, and some people are not. My brother likes to call him Sack Boy. I can go either way. I think there's parts of it that I really dig. It does look kind of, just creepy having that potato sack on him, right? But this is actually one of the entries in the franchise where Jason, I'm not saying he's not the most important thing, but there's so many other cool things about part 2 that I really enjoy. First off, the fact that it's following part 1. We know Pamela's dead, so now the question is, who's doing the killing? Who's killing these people, these counselors, right? And at that point, you have no idea about Jason, and because at the end of 1, it was a dream, quote unquote, it was a dream. Tom Savini even said, Jason does not exist. So part 2 had all of that mystery around it, and you've got a great cast, and you've got one of the best final girls ever in Amy Steele. Her portrayal as Jenny was it was picture perfect. It really was. And when you get to the point of that finale, it's one of the best finales of the franchise. And this franchise has quite a few great finales. That's one thing about this franchise, I will say. A lot of these entries have good finales and standoffs with the final girl or final guy, as it might be sometimes. But Jenny was great, and I loved her using that psychology, pretending to be Pamela. Now, no shade, but Paul can't fight. Come on, man, you got to do something better than what you're doing at the end of this movie. But other than that, it's a really, really good movie. I enjoy it a lot. And, I'm struggling with where to put it, because there's times that I put it a little bit higher and times I put it a little bit lower. But for right now, I'm going to put Friday 13th Part 2, yes, ahead of the original. I'm putting it in Ooh Baby. Yeah, there we go. Okay, last but not least, we have Friday the 13th Part 3. Part 3 in 3D. Yes. Now listen, this is a film that when I was a kid, I watched this film quite a bit. Obviously, I was going to the video store to rent it, but it was just one of those videos that just caught my attention. Number one, the 3D caught my attention. I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to watch this in 3D. I was a kid. I had no idea. Somebody should have told me. But this is where we get the hockey mask. This is where Jason gets the hockey mask. And up until, I'd say about half of the movie, he's in the shadows. You don't really know what's going on. It's very mysterious. I think 3 had a lot of tension, and sometimes that doesn't get talked about enough. You had some really fun characters, and again, you have another great final girl in Chris, who I thought, wow, I just thought Chris was fantastic. The way that she was portrayed, the way that she had a backstory, that it impacted the movie. Dana Kimmel, I thought she was just great in the role. And Richard Brooker as Jason, I'm speechless. I so wish he could have played Jason again. No disrespect to Ted White, and obviously no disrespect to CJ Graham or to Kane, but I thought Richard Brooker had this physicality that really, it was just so amazing. The way he moved, The way he was chasing Chris at the end, that was a great finale, highly underrated. I just loved the way he moved, and he was just so intimidating and just being so tall and big. And you just have some great scenes throughout this whole movie. The handstand kill, amazing. The scene when he gets the mask, thank you to Shelley. Shelley's dead. When you see him strolling down on the dock, he's just, the way he moves is just great. And poor Vera with the harpoon kill. I love that kill and that scene so much. And once he shoots her, he just kind of tosses it down and then just walks off. He has this movement to him. This way he walks is just great. This movie, it has a lot of great stuff to it. Now, granted, the 3D is kind of wacky. You got, those scenes where like the yo-yo is coming at you, and it's just like, come on, guys, this is messed up. I mean, it is what it is. This was 1982, guys, but there's a lot of great stuff in Friday 13th Part 3. I've watched it so many times over the years, and as a kid, it was a big one for me. Anytime it was on TV, I would watch it. So we got to put Friday 13th Part 3 in Ooh Baby. It has to go in Ooh Baby. I've had so much fun with this film. It's always going to be special to me. At one point, if I was doing this tier list as a kid, it would have been in Legend easily. But obviously now, with more perspective and looking at each film a little bit more critically, I'm going to put Friday 13th in Ooh Baby. And there you have it, guys. That's the tier list. I think it just shows the variety you have with these films. And I enjoy all of them to some degree. And most of them, I enjoy them a lot. I would say easily 9 out of the 12 are just, or even maybe 10 out of 12 are just like, wow. They're just, they're a good time. I'll put those on and just have a blast with them. But there we are. We have 2 that made it into the Legend round here. So that's pretty cool. And a bunch that I really enjoy in Ooh Baby. So for you guys, let me know what you think about the Friday 13th franchise and where you would put them in a tier list. You can take a look at this list and kind of tell me what you would change or do your own, and let me know what you come up with. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. It helps to support the channel. We'd appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, this is the time to do it. Do it and become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. And if you like this video, check out some of my others and let me know if you'd like me to do tier lists on some other franchises. And I'll catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.